Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Damian Murray's Dare to Be Different. Yes, this is what we're going to call this, and so that's what we're going to continue with. And so, for those who don't know me, obviously, welcome. My name is Damian Murray. I'm originally from the States, and I'm now currently residing in Sweden. And so, this will be my second video. And so, what I want to preach and continue to talk about a lot more is consistency, right? And this whole notion of daring to be different, which you have probably listened to on my previous episode. So if you have not already, please go check that out. I think it's super dope. Even though, just starting out, figuring out how long we can take this. But one of the things I want to talk about today is recently I was listening to a rap album by Reason. He's an artist from TDE. I think he's super, super dope. Really good artist. And he kind of talks about in one of his songs that people don't dream enough, and especially black people don't dream enough. And so that line hit me since the album has come out. I listened to it while I was in the States, and then now hearing it again while I'm in Sweden, while I was playing on my audio, making breakfast, I was like, whoa, this is a very interesting concept about people dreaming and not dreaming bigger than what they can actually see, right? And so right before we get into it, I'm gonna go into this kind of story about why I chose to leave the States, or why am I traveling? Why do I do these things? And then I'm gonna kind of break it down using something that was a pivotal moment in my life and how I came to be who I am today, right? And why I always strive to, to dare to be different, if that's cliche, or dream bigger than what I can dream, because I think there's a lot more out there. So with that said, let's get into the story time. So first and foremost, why did I choose to come to Sweden? Why do I travel abroad? What are some of the things that I've learned from that experience? And so one of the things that I can kind of talk about is, for those who do not know, I went to the Jackson State University. I actually studied finance while I was in undergrad. And so I was there from 2015 to 2019. And for those who do not know, Jackson, Mississippi is in the heart of the South. Most of my family is from Mississippi, have a long bloodline there, great people down there. And me being a kid from Columbus, Ohio at the time, going to Jackson, Mississippi was quite a culture shock. And the only reason why I kind of went to Jackson, Mississippi was yes, I was on scholarship, but also I knew that I was going to get as far away from home as possible. And I know some people agree with that, some people don't, but that's just kind of how I thought about it. And I wanted to experience something new, which I definitely did. And I'll definitely be telling some more Jackson State stories, because I was definitely a different person than I am now today, right? But while at Jackson State University, it was the summer right before I was going into my sophomore year. So I think it was May of 2016. Right. And so I just got done with my freshman year. My first semester was horrible. I didn't really know anybody. I had to figure stuff out. Second semester got better. Shout out to my friends that I made. And I was literally going into the summer because in high school, I had worked at Meijer. And so by me working at Meijer, I was a baggage person. Meijer is a grocery store for people that don't know. I handled baggage. I pushed carts. It was a very, very hard, kind of difficult job, but I had to earn money in high school. So this is what I did. And I was just going to go back there after my freshman year and just work. I didn't have an internship. I didn't have anything pretty much planned. And so I always say that with me in school, I was always a pretty good student, but I was never amazing, I guess. I just always just knew how to complete work and assignments, and I was pretty good at talking and stuff like that. So I always just was very self-disciplined and just basically getting stuff done. And so I go to the Honors College, because I was part of the Honors College at Jackson State. Shout out to them. And I forget which professor I was talking to, but she was amazing. I think she was the dean at that time. Hopefully she still is the dean. I'm not sure. But she was the dean at that time. And I go up to her and she was like, they usually helped us with our schedule and make our schedules. We had a lot of support while we were at Jackson State. And she looks at my GPA. I had a 3.57 at that time. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're in the business school? I was like, yeah. And then, I was like, and then she was like, oh, do you want to go to China? And then I literally looked at her, my face was just I don't know. What do you mean? And I was kind of shocked. I was a very shy person. I'm still very shy now to this day, but I was not expecting anything. So she tells me, she said, I kid you not, she was like, well, like we have this trip. There's not a lot of people that want to go. It's for people that are in the College of Business. It only costs you $500, and like we'll help you get your passport, because my passport at the time, like it was still my a kid's passport, so like I had to get a new one, obviously. And so I'm like, all right, let me think about it. I immediately called my aunt and my mom, because I'm like, oh, like, should I go? Like, should I not? They talk about this opportunity. It's like a 2-week trip to Shanghai, or Shanghai as the English word. And I'm like, should I go? Should I not? And then I'm talking to my aunt, and then she's like, I think you should go. Why not? She's like, it's only $500. And I was like, well, I guess I'll go. And so I remember, because it was a group of 10 of us, I went through the whole thing of like getting a new passport. I'm still using that passport to this day. So like that was like literally a gift from the heavens that I was able to get this passport, because it really changed my life. But I went through the whole process of like getting prepared to go and all the different things. And mind you, I probably before this had only been on a plane maybe once or twice. And that was to go back and forth from Columbus to St. Louis, right, with my mom. So other than that, I had not been on a plane. So I literally went from Mississippi to Dallas to flying all the way to China within a week, and stayed in China for 2 weeks. And obviously, for those who don't know, I'll kind of talk a lot more about like my study abroad experiences and just like my overall life experiences in general, because I mean, this is like kind of therapy for me, but also I think it's helpful for people and to share it in a certain way. And so within those 2 weeks, for people who don't know, like when you go on this type of program, like ours is called JSU Passport to the World. It's supposed to be like an introduction for students to actually study abroad, right? And like give you that like glimpse and taste of being abroad, but it's actually very structured. So you're with a group of people from your school, university usually. You also have faculty with you. You do get a little bit of freedom, but most of the time you're like traveling with them, you're going around. You're doing different like sightseeings and stuff like that. It's like really good, really dope. Like I think all my friends that have like done this type of experience like left like with nothing but good things to say. Now these experiences are way more expensive, so I definitely got a deal, because even the next year they had to go up on the pricing and stuff because of the fact that like it just costs money to travel and like do these things and give these people these types of experiences. So I go to China. In Shanghai, and I went to like these amazing like museums and clubs, and like just being out and having so much freedom, and like being somewhere where I'm different, and like having to learn and figure out how to navigate a place where I don't necessarily speak the language, and I have to figure out these different cultural ideas. Like all these things were like very important to me, and like screamed at me that I didn't know anything, because you literally took a kid that was basically from the Midwest. Like I spent a lot of time in the South due to my family being there, but like I literally went from the US to China, which everybody will tell you is the complete opposite of spectrums. So I got the culture shock, but I absolutely loved it and fell in love with it. And like on that journey, it's like I was with people for, 10 days or 2 weeks. And like we all talked about various amounts of things, from like politics to how we compare to U.S. and China relations, to how we see China as a whole. What do we want to do with our lives? Who do we want to be? Like all of these different things. And I had never felt so excited to be in a classroom. When I was in China, I kid you not, like I learned so much. It felt like I did so much. A lot happened in that 2 weeks, so much so that I was never the same after it. And so I immediately had this strong growth that like I had never saw before. And so from there, for me, what I did, I was like, okay, like right before leaving, I had really thought about, hey, what do I want for my life? What do I want to do? And this is like me at 19. So I'm doing all this on the fly. And I remember we had like our final dinner, and like, I do cry. I'm not gonna lie, I do cry. I do get emotional, but this type of emotion was just like a sadness, because at the time I was like, I don't think my life will get any better than this. Like this past 2 weeks was so good. I don't know if my life will ever be this good again. And so that sadness hit me as a 19-year-old, and I kind of was like in the backseat, like, wow. And like at that time, I remember we went to go meet a U.S. foreign officer, a black woman. Her name was Valerie Brown, and she was based in Shanghai. And she also had a black male speaker that was there. I forget his name, but if you're watching this video, shout out to you. He basically said, he talked about dreams, right? And he talked about like this is like the first dream that you accomplish in like his life, right? Like you come all the way here to China, right? But what is the next dream? Like how do you keep on dreaming bigger and bigger opportunities and bigger things? Not because you want to like make absorbent amounts of money or you want to do all these other things in your life, but like really like are you chasing the dreams that you set out for yourself, right? And like are you making the most of your time here on this planet? And that like really struck me, and it kind of reversed me back to this whole topic of black people or people in general not dreaming enough. And from my experience in China the first time, it taught me a very valuable lesson, right? So like I was going to just go back to Meyer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like you go back, you work for the summer, come back, go to school. Nothing wrong with that. Hustle, do what you gotta do. Blah, blah, blah. But I was actually selling myself short because there were opportunities out there for me to take advantage of, right? And I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. So luckily, like that moment was for me, and what was for me was for me. And so I am extremely grateful for that. But like how many times are like we presented with opportunities or different things that we don't choose to do them because we're only looking at the downside and not the upside. And of course, like things can obviously go bad. But like I think sometimes we got to take advantage of the moment and then encourage ourselves to continue to dream bigger, right? Like why is some of the things that we're dreaming about impossible to other people? They may not just understand, and that's okay. And I feel like that's fine. You know what I'm saying? And I think me beating to the own rhythm of my own drum is good, right? I don't want to leave this planet saying to myself like, oh, I live somebody else's life. I want to say that I live my life. And I think that's like really important to me and why I've come to like this analysis and why that song lyric hits me so much. And so I'll leave the song in the comments for y'all to like go look up for yourselves and listen to it and see like more about it and like what it means to you. But like in essence, I think like why we don't dream enough is like one is fear, right? I think that's the case. And the other is just really not knowing, right? And so I think having that curiosity and that exploration to want to try something new or want to see like what's out there is good. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And so always have that in the back of your mind that like, hey, I can do something else, or I can pivot, or I can change, or I can evolve is something that's powerful because you never know what's on the other side of that door, what's on the end of the road, and how that moment in particular will shape your life in the future. And so what that says about me, right, and like why I travel, why I try new things, why I go after new opportunities, is that like, look, I only have one life to live. There's no sense in me waiting, right? I'm still fairly young, as even though I got these grades and some people think I'm over the hill, whatever the case may be. I find it exciting, right? And I find it to be very impactful on my life when I do these things because the amount of growth that I receive is 10 times what I think would happen if I just stayed in my comfort zone. And so in other ways, I think sometimes there's definitely downsides to this, but I can definitely talk about in a future video. More content on the way. But all in all, I think never, ever, ever be afraid to dream bigger than where you're at. And always keep dreaming. Once you conquer that first thing, see what else you can do, right? And see what else you can envision, what you can create in your own mind. And so, with that said, this has been our second episode of this YouTube channel of Damian Murray. Don't know how I feel about the name of Dare to Be Different, but it is in my channel banner, so I'll keep it there because I just like the way it sounds. And yeah, please like, favorite, subscribe, share. We're trying to build this community up one day at a time. Consistency is the key. So with that said, Damian is out.